Tiger fans, we are almost a quarter of the way through our season after this round 7 game against the D's, and I just thought it was time to do a bit of a check-in just to see how we were travelling as a team. I've got some questions I want to ask, I've got some stats I want to rattle off, and I just think it's going to be an interesting discussion to have just to see how we're tracking versus maybe our expectations heading into 2025, given that the first 7 games are now in the book and out the way. So just some quick stats quickly before we get stuck into it. This is based on our 2025 season. That for experience, we rank 18th for the competition in terms of experience with an average of 53.9 games. Now, this is before the season took place. In age, we rank 16th, with an average age of 23.9 years. Goals, so goals kicked in their career, we average 25.7 goals, which is ranked 18th for the competition. So you look at those 3 metrics, and it's like, you know what, you see that, you think, shit, we are right up against it here in terms of entering the 2025 season. Then you think about these stats. 30 out of 43 players on our list entered the 2025 season with 50 games or less. 25 out of 43 players entered 2025 with 25 games or less. So more than half of our playing list entered the 2025 season with less than 25 games. 21 out of 43 players on our list entered the 2025 season with 20 games or less. So almost half of our playing list has 20 games or less experience. And then finally, 18 players out of the 43 on the list entered 2025 with 10 games or less. Now, obviously, we had the big draft haul that added 8 new players straight on that would fit into that last category. But that's a lot of experience to not have. And then when you sort of consider the fact as well, like we've mentioned before, that we lost roughly about 1,600 games experience at the end of 2024 with Dusty going, Rioli, Bolton, Baker, Graham, Grimes, who else left? Pickett left, the Cumberland, even though he didn't play a lot of games, it's still games nonetheless. But you get the picture. It's a lot of experience out, not much experience in. So that, in isolation, that paints a pretty bleak picture. But I think what the club's done really well, they've really built up, I suppose, the story about these young cubs that are coming into the club. And they're talented kids too. Like, it's one thing to go to a draft with 8 picks. It's another thing to nail all 8 picks. Now, there's still a little bit to play out with a few players that we haven't seen play yet, of course. But on exposed form, things are heading in the right direction with the ones that we've seen so far. And that causes great amounts of excitement around the club and for the fan base. So I just thought it was really interesting to revisit some of those stats, just to remind ourselves of where we were at coming into 2025. That's a long way back. We can't be under any illusions that, and I know I made a video about maybe tempering our expectations before the season started, based on a lot of this information, that all of these numbers, all of these stats point to us not winning games. That's just whether we like it or not. That's just the reality of where our season was at. And I know there was obviously commentary in the off-season that we may not win a game for the year. And I know a lot of us laughed at that and poked fun at it and called it out. But reality is, it was somewhat on the cards, just given all of that data and factual information. Thankfully, it's not turned out that way. It's such a great feeling as a Richmond supporter currently that we sit on 2 wins out of our first 7 games. And I know, our opposition supporters might look at this and be like, oh, you're celebrating 2 wins. Wow, but I think we have to celebrate these small wins. Like, 2 wins in our first 7 games. That's the same amount of wins we had for the entirety of last year. This is a massive step forward. Massive step forward. And a step forward with 1,600 games less experience than we had last year. And with 18 players out of 43 with less than 10 games experience, and 21 out of 43 with less than 20 games, and so on and so forth, as we mentioned. So I think, first and foremost, and straight off the bat, I want to give just a huge pat on the back to the coaching staff, the development staff, the players themselves for really taking everything on board and hitting the ground running. Because honestly, if you were to ask any of our fans pre-season what our ledger would be like at the round 7 mark, I don't think anyone would say we would have won 2 out of 7 games. I would hazard a guess that we all probably thought we would have lost all 7. In fact, I think we all maybe had us down as almost 0-9, 0-10, 0-11 potentially. That's how kind of bleak it was looking early days. And you look at some of the preseason practice games as well against West Coast and Collingwood, things are looking a bit dire there too. So I just want to give a big pat on the back to the players, coaching staff, and everything for nailing the 2 wins. The Carlton game, round 1. I mean, what a way to start the season. Completely unexpected by all Richmond supporters to turn around a 41-point margin was just mind-blowing. And, games like that, it's a bit of an old cliche, but games like that are almost worth 20 games of experience to these youngsters. It was just crazy to see them get to work and get that done. And you know what? We've had some rough games in between. We've had some big losses like to Port Adelaide, and St Kilda touched us up as well. But then you come into the game against Gold Coast. Again, another game that we're probably not expected to win. Gold Coast were undefeated at that point in time. We're still finding our feet. We know that we're going to get a good quarter here and there, and 4 quarters is probably out of the realms of possibility at the moment. And then you see a third quarter, like we did against the Gold Coast Suns, where we kicked 6 goals and put in a 30 or 40 point lead of our own. And look, the Suns, I know, nearly reeled it in, but that's what good sides do. But we actually, in that game, again, showed character, showed a bit of balls to hold on, because they were coming hard, right? And sometimes you just can't do anything about it. And I know there was a few tactical things we maybe could have done differently to have it not pan out that way, which I know was spoken about before. But the fact that we still showed the resolve and the resilience to hold on to that game and to find a way to win it was such a positive thing to have happen. We could have easily lost that game. They could have easily gone on and maybe won it by 2 or 3 goals and completely overrun us. And I think the Richmond of 2024 would have lost that game. I think with the way our mentality was, the way our culture was, there wasn't the same buy-in. I don't think we win that game last year if we were in the same position. So it just feels like some really big steps have already been taken forward already in these first 7 games. And in a lot of weeks, I'll often compare our results and maybe the reaction of our fans compared to like a West Coast or a North Melbourne or things like that. And, those 2 teams have been in their rebuild for a little bit longer than us. They're a bit more advanced. And some would argue that we're maybe showing some greater signs than what even they might be at various stages of the year. It shouldn't go unnoticed. Like, it's a massive thing to have happen. And I just couldn't be prouder of, the young kids who have come through, the older guys for embracing it, and the coaching staff as well. On the coaching staff, Adam Uze, just to give some thoughts on him, I think last year, the difference between Uze of last year and this year is night and day, in my personal opinion. And I've seen all the comments on social media from everyone about how much better he's doing at press conferences, the language he's using, the confidence in which he's speaking in. It's so different, and it just to me confirms what I had thought last year, that last year wasn't Uze's side. It was still 35% Dimmer's team and the rest his. And that wouldn't feel right for a coach. So this is why, and as silly as it sounds, this is why I've always stood by that this is my first year of really not judging Uze, but I think this is his first real crack at it as being coach. It's a clean slate. He's got his full team in. It's a big clean out, and I think he's showing some really good signs. And, every Melbourne supporter you speak to, if you ask them about what Uze was like for them when he was Goodman's right-hand man, they will have nothing but high praise of him, and he was a large part of the reason why they were winning games. So I still honestly feel like we're in really good hands. And I just want to reiterate, while obviously everyone's entitled to have an opinion, I'm okay with that, I still think that it's only fair and reasonable for us not to pass harsh judgment on Uze till at least 2026 and 2027. Just purely based on the experience and age profile of our list, we aren't expected to see results for another couple of years. That's just how the footy mathematics work. So I still don't think we should be going into games thinking we're going to win yet. And this might sound harsh, but it's just true. We're still only going to see some green shoots. We're going to see some fluctuations in form. Uze has said that himself in press conferences. So they know that internally. And I think we need to also know that and understand it externally so our own expectations are managed. But you just got to enjoy the roller coaster. I mean, so far we're 7 games in and it's one heck of a ride. And I want just to talk about some players quickly. Players who have impressed so far. I think Seth Campbell is one that's definitely impressed so far, averaging 12 disposals. He's kicked 11 goals so far this season. And we heard the other week that based on champion data ranking, he's one of the top 35 players of the competition. Now, for me, I feel like this come from nowhere. If we talk about Seth Campbell in 2024, nothing in 2024 suggested to me that he was going to come out and have a really solid year in 2025. I'm bloody glad it's happened. And maybe I missed some signs. Maybe it was evident and I've just completely missed it. But he's been really, really good so far. And look, there's been some inconsistencies in some of the games. But again, that comes with an experience and an age thing. But we know what his best is going to look like, and it's pretty special. And I hope we can re-sign him very, very soon. Toby Nankervis, again, I'll put my hand up, as will a lot of other people, I hope. And I was truthfully questioning whether he would be the right captain for us in 2025. I was probably in the Tim Taranto camp, just based on age demographic, not knowing how much Nank had left to offer and things like that. But very, very happy to say that he's definitely served a lot of humble pie to a lot of people, including me. And I think in this first 7 games, he has completely and utterly justified why he was the captain again for this season. You can see why the players respect what he does. And again, I don't give a shit if he doesn't talk in the media. That's not his role as far as I'm concerned. As long as he can lead those players, provide support to his teammates and tick all of those boxes, that's what's most important for the football club. And yeah, you can see that he's doing it and everyone's loving what he's doing. And he's just an absolute machine. It couldn't be happier for Toby Nankervis. And I love that. I love he's still showing his aggression, but he's not overstepping the mark. That was probably the big downfall for him a couple of years ago, that he didn't quite have that balance. He's now worked it out, and he's still being a very physical player, and I love him for it. Thompson Dow, look, it's no secret that I've backed Thompson Dow for a couple of years now, and I want to rehash last year very quickly because he copped a fair bit of heat last year, and I personally thought it was very unnecessary from a lot of people. And the reason why I say that is because last year, he was asked to play as the number 1 or number 2 midfielder in the absence of other players who are injured and whatever else. And the number 1 and number 2 midfield spot is not his position. And this is what I was trying to get across to people. You're criticising a guy who's playing a role that's not made for him. He's just doing his best to help out. And he was doing okay. This year, we've got our full midfield back. He's playing the 3rd or 4th midfielder. And surprise, surprise, what do you know? He's had a career best season. And as recently as the Melbourne game, he had a career best game. And I'm really happy for him. And look, I'm not at all sitting here suggesting he's going to take the role of a Lawler or a Smiley or anything like that. I think we all know that at some point in time in the next 2 years that there's going to be these other players who have drafted who will probably surpass him, because whilst he's had a really good year, there's a limit on capabilities for every player. And that's not a shot at Dow. That's just, it is what it is. But he has had a great year so far. His extraction work's been good, getting his handballs out, hitting targets. He's showing a lot more courage this year too, going back with the flight of the ball, marking some intercept marks down back. And yeah, I'm really glad he's proved a lot more people wrong, because I could see that this was going to be something that was going to happen once the full midfield brigade was back. And I'm glad he's proved me right, because I put myself on the line a bit for him. Not that he has to help me out, but yeah, he's had a really good year. And then finally, a couple of the youngsters as well. Luke Trainer, like, my God. Clubs are going to look back in 5 or 6 years and think, why did we not pick him? Why didn't we do it? And he has already shown an amazing amount of composure at AFL level. His skill level's great. He reads the ball well. You can see he's got leadership traits written all over him too. He's always instructing and giving orders, which takes a lot of balls to do for someone in their 5th game or 6th game, doesn't it? So he is very, very impressive, and the quicker we can get him to 50 or 60 games, the better. Sam Lawler, another one, goes without saying. The kid's got ultra class, and I think he's already shown why we took him at number 1. His composure and vision in traffic, his ability to find targets with ease. Like I said, I'd love to see him kick it more, but I also appreciate and respect how unselfish he's being in bringing in his teammates and being a good team player. I think that's really important to have as well. But over time, I'd love to see him kick the ball more, because he's an absolute weapon. I'm very, very glad to have him. And I do want to give a special mention to Tom Lynch as well, who has played 6 games so far, which I'm not sure many of us expected, but it's no secret that we play better with him in the side, and we need to see him for a lot more games this year. So keep it going, Lynchy. Loving your work. He's like a grandfather to all these kids out there, isn't he? He's flying the flag for him. It's good to see. Finally, I want to finish on players that I want to see more from. And I think it's important that we address this part too. Like, I know the first part of this video has been all very positive, which is great because it's all true. It's all very positive, and we should be very happy and upbeat with what we're doing. but there's still always room to improve. And I'm probably looking at a couple of the more senior guys or middle to almost senior guys. And this is more in relation to players I think I would love to see more from, because I think it will elevate us to a new level. The two I'll go on to first, I'm gonna bundle these two together, and I'll explain why. Jaden Short and Tom Brown. Now, Tom Brown one might seem a little bit harsh because of his age and inexperience, so it's probably not mainly at him. But the reason I've put them together is I think the half-back role for us in totality is something that we're lacking. Obviously, we lost Dan Rioli, which was a massive, massive loss, probably the hardest one to cover. But if you look at all the good teams in the AFL, I mean, obviously got Rioli now at Gold Coast, they've got Noble as well. You got Dan Houston at Collingwood, Weddle off halfback for the Hawks, Lockie Ash for the Giants is really, really good user of the ball as well. The attacking halfback role is a very, very specialist role, and it's something that all the good teams have, as it sets up play and it opens up so many avenues to score. I just don't think we've got that nailed at the moment. I don't think Jaden Short's doing that job well, and I don't think Tom Brown is either. They're kind of just coasting's probably not the word, but they haven't stepped into that Dan Rioli role. They're still just kind of doing their thing. I think one or both of them can. They've just got to back himself and just go for it. Take off those attacking kicks. Go for that burst run through the half back line. I just want to see more from those two players, because I think that can really set up some good counterattacks from the back half, and I just think it's a big part of the puzzle that we're missing. And the other one, and this one might be a little bit harsh because he has had some good games, but Jack Ross, I'd just love to see him bridge the gap between his best and worst football. Because when he's playing near his best, he's a huge piece of our puzzle, and he's a very, very good midfielder for us. But when he's not playing well, it can have a big impact on us too. I just think that he could, if he can bridge the gap between the best and the worst, that he will help propel us forward into hopefully winning a few more games. So with that said, I think, will we win some more games throughout the year? I think so. Do I know when they'll be? No, I don't think we knew when the first two were going to be, but here we are with 1-2. Obviously, we've got North Melbourne a couple of times and West Coast. They're going to be tough games. I know that might sound silly because of where they are on the ladder as well, but we have to understand that they're going to pencil those games in against us as games they feel they should win, and we're going to do the same. So it's going to be two teams going absolutely hammer and tong, willing themselves at every contest, and it could be really good games, to be honest, but they are by no means any gimmies. Like in an ideal world, you'd love to beat both of them, at least at the MCG, but truthfully, we don't know when our next wins are going to come, and I do think we could end up with 4 wins for the year, 4 or 5, and we're just going to have to try and jag a couple throughout the year. But like I said, the fact we've already won 2 out of 7 is a bloody good start. And you know what? Even if we didn't win another game for the year, I'd personally still be pretty happy that we won the 2 that we did, given who they were against and the situation of it all. What's also going to be interesting, and this is something we spoke about on the live Q&A show the other night, is traditionally teams maybe in the bottom half of the 8 typically drop away quite a bit towards the end of the year. Players get tired, players go in for surgeries, all that kind of shit. What I find an interesting thing to consider for us is because of the amount of young kids we've got coming through now, and we're kind of playing them in blocks and rotating them, doing bits and pieces, we still might have some fresh legs coming into this back half of the year. We still might have a block of kids coming back into play who are hungry and wanting to prove a point and to cement themselves in the team. So I'm actually looking forward to seeing what we can do in the back half of the year. We might actually cause some upsets there potentially. Who knows? But yeah, overall, I don't think you can't not be happy with what we've done so far. You can clearly see what the game plan's meant to look like when we get our game up and running for the 1 quarter or the half of football that we play really well. And when it's going, it looks bloody good and it's effective. And now it's just a matter of getting more experience, more game time into the kids. And that will slowly start to happen more and more and more and more. And we'll see a little bit less inconsistencies. But that might take a couple of years. So we have to be all prepared for that as well. But yeah, just thought I'd do a little bit of a check-in for the first quarter of the season. Let us know what all of you think as well. How would you rank this start of the season, the first quarter of the season? If you had to rank it out of 10, what would you give it? I would probably give it, honestly, I'd probably give it a 7. I think it's a huge pass mark to win 2 games, one against Gold Coast, one against Carlton. I didn't expect us to win those games or any games in the first 6 or 7 weeks. So I'm definitely giving it a big tick. Others are going to have different views, and that's great. We're all for it. So let us know in the comments below. Is it a pass mark? What do you want to see better? What have you thought of some certain players? How have you felt about Uze and how he's handling things? Keen to hear all about it in the comments below. Yeah, make sure you like and subscribe for more Richmond content, and we will see you for the next one. Go Tigers.